Some people are lured into adventuring by a gleam of treasure, the force of magic and the smell of power. Some are drawn in by a fascination with the beasts that scour the world, and others still by a wanderlust and unquenchable sense of curiosity. Those people are naturalists. Men and women who are so driven by their curiosity they will gladly risk life and limb time and time again because there's always a new adventure just over the horizon. Or maybe under it. Being both masters of the living and dead histories of the world, the naturalists will stop at nothing until there are no stones unturned, no adventures unhad, and no puzzles unsolved. In Dungeons & Dragons, the Naturalist is not a combat-oriented class, having only one ability dedicated to combat, but what they do bring to the table simply cannot be matched by any other class. A true explorer's spirit and an unparalleled cavalcade of unconventional items for their party to use. If you want to take the back seat in combat, but shine in utility and bring the DM's world to life in all the moments, small and large, then a Naturalist class might just be for you. In this video, I'll be going over all the abilities so you can play one of your own. Link in the bio, as always, for a full write-up. But this time, it's on my own website. At first level, you get Expertise and Dissection. Expertise allows you to double your proficiency in 3 skills of your choice, just like the Rogue. But the other skill, Dissection, is where the class starts to spring to life. You can, by studying a corpse for 2 weeks and taking notes, committing it all to memory, learn almost everything there is to learn about that species, exposing all of its secrets, making any further encounters that much easier, learning any resistances and immunity it has, any and all special abilities, and even how they fight, making your next encounter with that species all the faster. But your studies don't just stop at the living world, they also extend to dungeons and places of interest that are rife for exploration. And explore you will. At 2nd level, you already know all the traps and tricks of the trade, giving you advantage to spot, react, and disarm to those traps. And on top of that, you always know a way out, because you never forget an entrance when you pass one. Once you reach 3rd level, you've learned enough or have been struck with enough poisons to tell the difference between them. And if you're worth your salt, you'll know how to neutralize most of them. But also at 3rd level, your general curiosity starts to become a little more refined, and you can pick between studying history, the arcane, and the realm's religions. If your curiosity leans toward the lost histories of the world, you are the most classic naturalist. Your thirst for knowledge of the ancient world, locked just below your feet, is beyond measure. For you, a broken pot with a painting on it is just as important as the magic sword locked in stone. For a researcher of history, there is nothing like the excitement of getting just a peek into the long-lost past, so you can learn why things are the way they are today. This isn't always an artifact, however. Finding a once-thought extinct species or newly evolved one are a form of living history, and the powers from this curiosity sharpen the mind and ensure you'll almost never fail a history check. And eventually, with enough digging, you'll gain assistance from a specter of the past. If you're feeling more magically inclined, then why didn't you pick a wizard? But for the naturalist who researches the arcane, they distinguish themselves from a wizard in the way that they don't try and cast spells but are absolutely ensorcelled by the underlying mechanics and will delve into the most dangerous places for an old artifact that represents the way magic used to be. For the truest arcane naturalists, knowing how a fireball worked 700 years ago is more important than being able to cast one now. The depths of this knowledge make sure that you're never caught off guard by any magical lore, and later on you'll be casting spells like they did in the old days, on runes. There's one avenue left to study, and that's religion. A true scholar, you've memorized every religious text twice over and know every line better than most clerics or priests. Though you do not do this out of some sort of devotion to a deity, you're not excluded from worshipping one or two, knowing how the texts have changed and unearthing scrolls and rites from when the gods were first born. After all, the word of a god might be interesting, but what did they say before? And how's that changed over the last 1,000 years? By picking this avenue of research, you'll learn long-lost prayers, and even how to become closer to a celestial than the most righteous paladins. Once you've chosen your path of research, it's time to delve back into the basics, starting with your extraction ability at 5th level. This is where you can use your creativity, sometimes insanity, to make weapons out of fallen enemies, and most commonly, making one-use magic items out of their personal abilities. Though your dungeon master has the ultimate say on its power, and what you can extract. But if he's cool with it, you might just be able to take the Draconis Fundamentum organ right out of a slain dragon and jerry-rig it into a breath weapon from a bag labeled, "Don't touch this unless you want to die." At 6th level, you can do that thing from Indiana Jones where the guy is swinging around his sword and Indiana just shoots him. In mechanical terms, if an enemy you can see takes any action but the attack action, you can make a ranged attack against them as your reaction. Not only that, but you are now a supreme team player, knowing the strengths and weaknesses of your party, how to help them, and where they can help you the most. A naturalist who lives to 9th level knows enough about the world at large that it takes no time at all learning about a new place, knowing every native species, and with only a few hours of burning candlelight can sniff out anything you don't know even faster. Surgery is your skill at 10th level. You know almost all there is to know about anatomy, so a little bit of time you can fix whatever ails your party. Just be sure to give them something to bite on or knock them out first. Speaking of knowing everything, you have a supernatural knack for languages and you can understand them for a while before making them permanent additions to your linguistic repertoire. Learning languages at 9th level is exceedingly fast, and it's not uncommon for a naturalist to learn every language out there in the matter of a year or two. Your next 2 abilities come from getting yourself into and then subsequently out of trouble, more times than you can count. Being able to give your enemies the slip while learning how that relic you stole from them works on the run. With Escape Artist giving you the inability to be slowed down, and Lore Master having it so you only need to connect a few dots to understand how something works and where it came from. If you survive to 18th level, your immune system becomes so hardened that neither poison nor rot can even affect you. You've simply come across too many undead guards and been shot with too many poisonous arrows hidden in walls for that stuff to even faze you. But that just means it's a new skill for you to learn. By tasting a poison, you automatically know what it is. After surviving 20 levels of exploring the most dangerous places, known and unknown, from the bottom of the ocean to active volcanoes, you finally realize the scope of it all. How you'll never be able to get everywhere in just one lifetime. Or not with that attitude, at least, because that curiosity pulling at your soul won't let you go just yet. Old age can't stop you in your explorations. You at 90 is just as spry as when you first started. That fountain of youth you swam in a few adventures back, just make sure that any potions that reduce your age simply cannot fail. So with the combination of aging slower and being able to reduce your age indefinitely, you have the best type of immortality. The kind that you can end with a smile on your face and the knowledge of a job well done.